Dowites. This is Tariq Alam, Dow class of 2005, currently serving as Secretary Dogana. I am a practicing neurologist in St. Louis, and it is my absolute pleasure to have Dr. Zilaf Munir, who is a Dow graduate, the first woman president of Dogana, joining us all the way from Pakistan. Welcome to the show, Dr. Zilaf Munir.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Tariq. What a pleasure being here.
It's absolutely a pleasure to have you. Dogana Diaries is a podcast where we broadcast about trailblazer Dawites, those who have left an impeccable mark in their careers or who have basically broken barriers. And having read about you, you were the first woman president of Dogana, the first woman Dow president of UPNA. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Tariq, firstly, thank you so much for having me here. And it is such a great initiative. It's really wonderful to see Dogana and people like yourselves now getting us into this age of a new way of connectivity. We were from times when the connectivity and making connectivity happen used to be our biggest challenge. So really, it's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see you doing all of these amazing things. Well, let me just tell you that you introduced me as the first woman president of Dogana, and my recollection of those times, I think, and you are in St. Louis, and that's where I started from because that's
Wow.
where I was doing my residency at WashU, and it just so happened that there was a meeting of while during the time when I was still doing my residency of UPNA in St. Louis, one of the smaller meetings. And being a resident and missing home, I said, well, this is very interesting. I got to know about it and I went there. And I think there was no looking back. So now when I look back at my time from the time of my involvement with Dogana to now where I am, having had opportunities of being in positions of leadership in roles probably much bigger than that, but all the memories and the learnings that I carry from that time, and I really give credit. So yes, I was the president in 2000. It was a very, very fortunate, I think, time for me. As well as I would say for the organization, because it was an inflection point.
Right.
It was an inflection point because you had all these amazing stalwarts of Dogana who had started Dogana. This was from the time of the 70s.
Mhm.
And, I mean, there were people, and I got to interact with all of them, people like Dr. Sultan Ahmed and Dr. Bisharat, Dr.
Sure.
Alvi, Dr. Ikram, Dr. Mushtaq, Dr. Salim Chaudhary, Parvez Shah, and I got to interact. They were the people who made the constitution, made the organization.
Right.
However, we had come to a point where Dogana itself, when we used to go to meetings of Dogana, there would hardly be two or three tables, and it would be difficult to fill
Wow.
those spaces. So that is, that's what happens. What you see is the potential, and what you see is what it could be. And that's kind of what got me really excited about what an amazing group of people, platform, and they welcomed me with open arms. I was very, very fortunate
Mhm.
to have people like Rizwan Karatella, and then the rest of the team that we were able to make up.
Right.
So it was like we used to call it, it was a sleeping giant in hibernation. So that, and that is what the position of Dow was in APNA at that time.
Sure.
We had thousands of graduates with, hardly any membership. So that's what we got going. And that's why I say it was an inflection point. So that year, myself and my whole team, which, as I said, I mean, Rizwan was the first person I had reached out to because he was already maintaining, which was the very first kind of a web page for Dawites for Dogana, and we started getting all the lists together, and then there I had counselors all over the country. I mean, I still remember Nadeem Hassan and Salim Chaudhry, Sadeem Mahmood, Amir Jamal, Zia Moiz, Farid Ghazi, Asfar Malik, Nasser Qureshi, of course, who was with me in Apna as well, Ehsan Rashid. So all these amazing people, we just
Very
got
familiar
together. We said,
names.
we have to get this organization going. We have to get the membership going. I remember making the whole databases ourselves. And finally, what it led to was when we had our DAO meeting, our annual dinner at the Apna function that year, we were the largest alumni. So it was absolutely huge. We took the whole organization by storm. It got the
Mm.
interest of Dawites going, and that was the beginning. So that was the beginning of my journey with Dogana. And that, of course, then led to Apna, and then from Apna, wanting to give back to the country, wanting to give back to the family. I moved back to Pakistan. I'm leading one of the largest, most respected organizations here, taking on new challenges of a different kind of a career. Then got on to now I'm very involved with I became chair of the Pakistan Business Council, the largest business body of Pakistan. Now having the opportunity to actually be giving inputs and helping in direction of the national economy. So it's been a great journey, but I still remember my days from Dow and my days from Dogana.
That is a remarkable journey. Uh, Brilliant synopsis of your life so far. So, if you were to look back and say, if you were to speak to your younger self walking through the corridors of Tao, what advice would you give yourself?
Okay, so if I say walking through the corridors of Tao, the time when I was in Tao, this was in the mid 80s. It was a very, very different time
Sure.
for Karachi, and it was a very different time for Tao. So it was, very politically sensitive
Mm.
times. The activities, the student body activities were very different from
Yeah.
what people before me and people after me were there. So at that time, if you would tell me about talking in the corridors of Tao, it used to just be keep your head down, do what you are supposed to be doing, what you are here for, and keep your focus on the amazing institution that you are in and what you can take from it. And take that as a life journey going forward. And don't get distracted or
Sure.
don't get disheartened by challenges that you see around you. See what you can do to make things better. I think that's the lesson that I learned. I think it was a time, so it was not just medical education,
Yeah.
it life lessons. And it was lessons of how you build relationships, you build values, and how you take them forward to build institutions.
Absolutely. Tao of those years and Tao of now is way different. And the lessons
Yes,
that your generation learned from Tao, basically still that's something which you carry with yourself. So you finished your medical education from Tao and then you came to United States and you just mentioned about St. Louis, Washington University of St. Louis, remarkable university. And you chose to specialize in psychiatry. So, how did
correct.
psychiatry shape your understanding of leadership and people? Because it seems that's what you have accomplished.
Well, thank you very much for your gracious remarks, Tarek. You're absolutely right. And let me tell you, so how did I even think of getting into psychiatry? And it's actually an unusual and
Yeah.
interesting story because I was as I said, I've been very fortunate in life in a lot of ways, and that includes mentors.
Mm.
So it just so happened it was during my Dow days that I got to know Dr. Uh, of SIUT and Adib Rizvi Saab, and
Sure.
I got to I was fortunate I got close to him. I started working with him on a very different project. They were doing fundraising for SIUT at that time. So I really got to know him well. He got to know me, and I was very fortunate. He was the one, once I had graduated, I mean, I was already, I'd had because our graduation in Dow in those days, it was not happening in 5 years. It used to take us longer than that. So, by the time I had graduated, I'd even had all my, mashallah, three boys. So I was with Dr. Rizvi, and I said, okay, look, now I'm thinking of I'm doing my CFMG and all, and he is the one who told me, Zilaf, Pakistan really needs psychiatrists,
I see.
and that's what I want you to be thinking about. And that's when I went and I did, one of my house jobs in it, simply because that is what he said, go and see what that is and the way that it can help. So that's kind of what got me going. I liked it. I said, good, I applied. I was very fortunate. I got interviews from all the top universities. And WashU at that time, it was really, they were the medical model of psychiatry, what was at that time. They were
Mm.
the forefathers of it, the DSM-3. The authors of DSM-3, one of them was the chairman at that time, who actually interviewed me for my residency. So that's kind of what got me going into psychiatry and getting me into that program.
So, Dr. Adib Rizvi, of
And
course,
and of course, and then your question was about how that shaped my leadership
understanding of
journey.
leadership and
Yes, yes,
people.
absolutely. Because it was what that teaches you is about how you facilitate in people developing their best selves,
Yeah,
and how you bring empathy to
sure.
whatever you do to bring out the best of whoever you are with and wherever you are. And that's what organizational leadership is about. It's about building the best performing teams and motivating them to be performing at their best, because end of the day it is about your teams and how they perform. So that was the lesson that one learned.
So, Dr. Adib Rizvi, you mentioned, of course,
Yeah.
a remarkable man. We are so proud of him. And he's a urologist, a urological
Yes,
surgeon. So, a urologist telling a young student to basically pursue psychiatry. That's not a regular
correct.
story that we hear of.
That's exactly why I wanted to share that with you, because that's what I said. I mean, because I used to work with him. They had this whole committee that we were helping them do a lot of events and fundraising, other than just because they were building the institution at that time. So, whatever little opportunity we got. So I kind of had developed a relationship where I could, talk to him like you would say a daughter. So it was
Yeah.
more like, and he knew, and of course, he would have loved if I had come and joined his department or whatever. But it was more about what he felt that in Pakistan that there is something that there is a need for, and he was like, this is something you you do everything, you're doing your surgery, you're doing your medicine, but do try this out as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you have any regrets that you chose that speciality?
Not at all.
Not at
Not at
all.
all. It was an amazing time because that was the decade of the neurosciences. So the
Yeah,
decade in which I was training, that was where I would say majority of the breakthroughs that we are still now have the tailwinds from were happening at that time. So whether it was at that time the SSRIs or whether it was the second generation of all of those happened in our times.
Sure.
And then when you move on to the more holistic model and the more integrative aspects, so it was the time of the neurosciences, and I worked with world experts in,
Yeah.
whether it was the SPECT or it was the PET, it was all happening at WashU. So it was extremely exciting. And the way that my life journey turned out after that, I think it was, he was God sent, and that advice was God sent.
So it turned out to be a perfect fit, basically,
It turned out to
it
be
did.
a perfect, it turned out to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
perfect fit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Dr. Munir, I want to ask you a question about your courage to return back to Pakistan. Now, many physicians, dream of staying in America. You chose to return back. You had a successful career over here. You were at the cusp of Dogana and Apna's leadership. Why did you choose to return? And was it an easy decision?
The last question is the easiest to answer. Was it an easy decision? Not at all.
Mm,
So it was not an easy decision.
sure.
It was a considered decision. So
Sure.
it was not even an emotional decision, I would say, at the time. It is emotions that drive you to be taking big life decisions. Um, Hence, there is an aspect of that. There is an aspect of family. There is an aspect of parents. There
Yeah.
is, but the bigger aspect, which I think, because eventually the person who was able to convince me to come back was my father, and
Mm,
it took a good 4 or 5 years for him to talk to me about it. And he was the one, my parents, who had encouraged me to do medicine. They thought that that's, something that I wanted to do, would excel in. And he was, you've done what you wanted to do. You are very happy where you are. You have proved yourself. You are one of those who wants the next challenge in life. And this is the challenge that I throw out at you. Think about it, because you're going to find it fulfilling.
yeah.
Because you will have new ways of giving back, because that's what, especially when you are living in the States and the diaspora, what is our biggest burning desire is to give
Yeah.
back,
To give
to,
back.
to,
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
give back, right? So everything we do is about giving back. So
Yeah.
this is a new opportunity of giving back. And then where, obviously your own personal circumstances come into it. So by that time, my children were already in college. My youngest
Right.
also went to college. And I said, okay, so this is a good time to be taking on a new challenge in life. So before doing that, of course, I mean, I was very, very involved with the whole Apna thing happening at that
Yeah.
time. I took my Apna presidency also, equally seriously as I did my Dow one. And, I was again fortunate to have left impact
Sure.
in areas and places where I think it's sustained and is important. So uh, that part of my journey was also, it had reached a good point. And my own professional, I felt, I was at a good place. And it's so what I had done was at that time, because my work also involved administrative and management
Yeah.
uh, responsibilities. So, as a matter of fact, I was, during my time when I was practicing, I also was at Johns Hopkins. They had this MPH program, which
Hmm.
also with the majors in health, finance, and management. So, I just got intrigued. And I joined that as well while I was still working. And that was the time I was in Delaware. So that helped me. I thought it was helping me with what I was doing at the time, not knowing that it's helping me build my foundation for a career in business later on, although
Yeah.
different sector. And then while I was there, I attended some advanced management programs at Harvard to get into the sense of, business leadership. So had a nice transition into this, and now no regrets whatsoever.
That is remarkable. When you look back today, do you think that returning home was a defining decision of your career?
Now, when I look back, yes, it was. Well, I would say there were two defining
Right,
moments, right? The first was when I decided that I was going to go to the States.
right,
Because
absolutely,
again,
yeah,
it was not in a conventional sense of,
hmm,
a young graduate who's just graduated and is going out to do their higher education and then start with life. For me, it was like, as I said, I had already by that time I was already had a family, and it was again a big decision. So bringing three kids along, so it was again a big decision, and again one of those things where I, I didn't really have to, so to speak. It was more about that is what would be good to be doing for one's own development and the
sure.
development of course your own. So that was the first, I think, equally important decision that shaped my life and my career. And then the second one of coming back
Coming back,
was
yeah,
even more,
yeah.
I would say,
So
important.
now
Yes.
you are the CEO of one of the largest companies in Pakistan, the first woman to be appointed chair of the Pakistan Business Council. How do you make difficult decisions when thousands of employees depend on you?
Very good question. And the answer lies in your question. I keep in mind the fact that there are thousands and thousands of families
Lives that are
that
dependent.
are
Yeah,
affected
yeah,
by the decisions that one makes. And you know what? That makes your job much easier.
sure.
Because what I have learned, again, from my parents is the easiest decision to make is the right decision.
Yeah,
So, whatever you think is the right decision to make that, and that is what happens. So what you do is, you have to balance when you're a business leader. What distinguishes you is the ability to make decisions, the ability to
mm,
take risks, and yet at the same time to have the ability to very quickly assimilate data, which is what being a doctor and us being from the science backgrounds, we already inherently knew and learned, right? So we can quickly assimilate empirical evidence, turn it into the art of decision making,
wow.
and
Yeah,
keeping when you are a physician, it's an individual that you keep in your mind, and when it's an organization, it's the organization you keep in mind.
yeah,
So, and that's what you convert into the decision. So there has to be a balance between risk taking. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form a safe decision maker. I'm
yeah,
somebody who looks at data but does not get into analysis paralysis. I take my decisions based on then I let my intuition come in,
yeah,
and take the decision, bold decisions. I've taken very bold decisions.
yeah. So
So
that's a very thoughtful.
I think it's kind of become a part of me. It's like now wherever I go, they say, okay, so now what's the transformation going to be?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've kind of become known for that.
That's a very thought-provoking response. But my next question is a follow-up to this question. And this question is not meant to Dr. Zilaf Munir, the physician, but Dr. Zilaf Munir, the CEO. How do you balance profitability with purpose?
Amazing question. When you make purpose your guiding light, and I've learned that everywhere, and it has been totally reinforced in business.
Hmm.
when you keep purpose as your guiding light
Yeah.
and you have a purpose-driven, purpose-led organization, profitability follows.
Sure.
Hence, it seems simple, but it's the most difficult thing to do is
Hmm.
do not chase profits. Because when you are chasing profits, you lose track of what you are supposed to be doing. And this is, I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it. This is
Yeah.
something that I kind of inherited in my DNA as well. And even the organization, it's, I think I'm again very, very lucky, very fortunate. It having purpose, having values was what was the foundation that I got. And all I
Yeah.
had to do was build on the values and the purpose. So at a time when, now when you talk about big organizations, now the word they use is sustainability, and
Mm.
for that it was CSR, and before we from the very beginning, say, 50 years ago, used to be talking about the three P's, which was people,
Hmm.
planet, profit, in that order.
Sure.
And I'm talking about decades before it became fashionable to talk about sustainability and businesses with purpose.
Yeah.
So when it is purpose that drives you, profit follows. And I think that's what you would even find in, didn't we find that as physicians in our own practice?
Yeah.
Wouldn't the patients be able to feel authenticity? Wouldn't they be able to feel empathy? And wouldn't they want to come back to you?
It's amazing that you say that because even for organizations like Dogana and Apna, rather than chasing titles, which we know is rampant, service and merit and dedication speaks much more and can ultimately take you to that position rather than just chasing blindly.
You are so right, Tarek. You are so right. And that is the lesson that not only have I learned, is the lesson that I want to leave behind for future leaders like yourself. It is the impact
Sure.
that you are remembered for, not
Mm.
the title. So if you were to ask anyone who was what at what time, that doesn't matter. Even if you think for you it matters at that time, it doesn't. It is the impact, and impact comes when you are purpose and service driven. So when you have your head down working on something which is a purpose, whether, we were talking about whether it is Dogana, I was doing the same thing in Upna. I mean, why are you increasing membership? Why are you increasing connectivity? Why are you increasing impact? So that the community can give back more, whether it is to their alma mater, whether it is to the community you live in as a diaspora, whether it was our political connectivity, whether it was because we were all there at very important times in
Yeah.
even the whether it was the geopolitical, whether it was, I mean, Pakistan has always managed to keep itself in times and places where it remains relevant, right?
Right.
So it was the same thing happening even in our times, and that was the post 9/11 era. So you had to be resourceful, and you had to be impactful as organizations, as communities, to be making a difference. So coming back to your question of, absolutely, it is the impact which comes from your authentic desire for service. And that is what leads to, then you land up being in places where your impact matters, and then you're recognized for that. Because another very big life lesson, there
Yeah.
will always be detractors.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't matter how pure you may be in your
Yeah.
intention, doesn't matter how you try to lead diversified teams and people. Detractors is par for the course.
Right, right.
So that is what you have to, that's when you have to keep reminding yourself of your purpose, your mission. And there is something much bigger than yourself, which is
Right.
whatever institution it is that you are serving.
I'm so glad that you mentioned about this because in a world full of shortcuts where people are looking, for quick accolades and quick titles and quick, justification for everything, I think this is a great lesson for a younger generation, who are just under so much pressure to perform, to show, to be heard and, to feel valid. So thank you really, for this perspective. My next question is going to be about women in leadership. It seems like, a time tested question, women and leadership and things like that. But I want to ask you and get your perspective that did you ever feel that you had to work harder than your male colleagues to earn the same credibility, that you enjoy right now?
Uh, to give you an honest answer, yes.
Hmm.
I would have liked to say no. Now we live in a time where this should not be the case. But the fact of the matter is that yes, it is still the case. Okay,
Sure.
what's different is it's not about working just harder. It's
Hmm.
about women now have also learned to work smarter.
Sure.
So that I think is the space that women got now compared to say 50 years ago, right? So when you look at, but you have to keep making the difference for all the women who come after you. I mean, one of the things I'm very proud of, whether it was in Dogana, but actually say in Apna, the Apna Women Physicians Caucus, we started that. It was started in, when I was, say, the chair of the membership committee, that's when I was doing all of these initiatives. That's how we increased the membership of APNA also to the highest it had been at that time. So whether it was the Women Physicians Caucus, even whether it was the Young Physicians Caucus,
Yeah.
right? So to be able to give platforms, that matters. But once they have the platform, then women can excel.
Sure.
Um, but now when at the positions that mashallah now I am in and have been in, what I do now is I don't let myself get defined as a woman leader.
Right.
Okay.
That's interesting you say
So
that.
yes, and I'll give you an example. Okay, so
Yeah.
when I got you know whenever you get elected for something, so when I got elected for this, so first woman chairperson of, say, the most recent being the Pakistan Business Council's person, right? And this is all like the largest businesses in Pakistan, blah blah. So it was like all over every news, every this, first woman that, first, which was great. And then there was the Women's Day that was coming up, and everybody wanted to interview everything, which was fine. I was used to it. Yeah. But after that, it was not about me going and talking on women's events. It was not about me going and talking on Women's Day. It was not me going. It was about I was mainstream, our job was advocacy for
Sure.
influencing national economic policies and agendas. So
Yeah.
that's what people want to hear, not what me being a woman, but in the national economic agenda, if
Yeah.
50% of the population is not given a seat on the table for
Yeah.
economic development, your GDP, there is no way on earth that it is going to increase, which
Yeah.
you need to be taking care of
Sure.
the human development indices. So there
Yeah.
is a natural fit. So it is not about I'm a woman and I'm going to be talking about, oh,
Yeah.
women need to be employed. It's a simple economic fact. that if
Right.
you are not going to be getting women in the workforce, your GDP is not going, there is no way it's going to increase. There is no way that your population is going to come under control unless the women are educated. There is,
Yeah.
these are mainstream uh, challenges that
Yeah.
economies face, that countries face,
Yeah.
and that's what now I see as my role and my job. So I don't let myself get defined any longer
Yeah.
by being a woman. It is, I'm sitting, I have a seat on the table for issues that are not gender based. They're
Genderless
issues
now.
that
Yes.
are they're issues that are of that affect each and every citizen
Right.
and
So these are,
humans of the world.
yeah, these are, bold conversations. And in the same breath, my next question would be that as a women leader, in your view, where is the line between legitimately highlighting gender barriers and using gender as an advantage? Because we see that the gender is also misused. So where is that fine line and where will you draw that?
Very interesting question. So let me give you a considered view on it because it is a very interesting question. I think I would answer that as an analogy of whenever there is segments of society that are left behind for
Right,
whatever reason,
right.
um, and they and it is the responsibility of everybody, whether it is your religion or whether it is you as a human being, that you cannot leave anybody behind, right? That's what even your religion teaches you. So whenever that opportunities, whenever you have to catch up, you have to make room. And when you have to make room, there may be some aspects where you may feel there is too much room that has been given, and it may be not as productive as what it could be or should be. But that doesn't mean you don't do that.
Right,
That
right.
that just means that this is a time period where the opportunities have to be provided, but yet at the same time, this system and the boundaries have to be in place so that it remains productive and it
Hmm.
remains fair.
Yeah,
So no, I would not say that now is it now being you overused or in any way abused. Look, exceptions can happen anywhere. Exceptions shouldn't be defining the rules, right?
the main rules. That's
So
true. Yeah, yeah,
as a principle,
yeah,
nobody should be left behind. As a
yeah,
principle,
yeah.
everybody should have the opportunity to make the best of what they have been provided.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but
But
yet
Dr.
at the
Mudi,
same time, the responsibility lies with both, right?
yeah, yeah,
Not to be abusing any privilege that you may be having, not abusing any privilege. It should be for anybody and everybody, right?
right,
So
right, right,
if it is a privilege, but if it is not really a privilege, it is something that you have deserve and earn. And if you are, flaunting it, that's fine too.
right, right. So, in the same vein, because you've been so intricately involved with the politics in Togana and Apna, and I don't know how much of that, you're still following, but do you think that emphasizing gender can sometimes overshadow merit, or is it necessary to draw attention to systemic barriers?
I think I answered that question earlier where I said that there comes a point where it's not about any specific gender or issues. You're talking about larger mainstream issues, right?
Yeah.
So, in that context, um, to be a leader, you have to be looking at the challenges ahead of you in a holistic manner. Those cannot be defined by what gender you are or by what ethnicity you are or by you if you're a leader, you are leading everybody. So you have to define yourself as what can you offer as a leader that would be taking everyone along to be addressing whatever is that they need to be addressed. So I don't think you should be defining yourself.
Yeah.
I think what you should be talking about is, I mean, it's like when you see me, you can see what ethnicity I may be, what color I may be, what gender I may be, what age I may be. I mean, you can see all of that. Why do I have to tell you,
Right.
right? Why don't I talk to you about what I can offer you if I am volunteering myself as a leader?
Sure. So I'm going to put you in the hot seat right now. Would you want to be remembered as a successful women leader or as a successful leader?
Very, very straight, simple, easy answer. A leader, no question about it, because it's a matter of why should I be compared to a smaller data set?
Yeah.
Why don't I open myself to be compared to the largest data set?
Sure.
Why shouldn't I be judged as a leader per se? As opposed to, yes, what I will be very happy to talk about is, okay, being a woman, what 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 does diversity get?
Yeah.
That's that's what one should be talking about. Okay, so what did I bring to the table? What does diversity bring to any organization? What does diversity bring to any institution? Diversity is extremely important. Diversity
Sure.
brings different points of views. Diversity brings different styles of management.
Sure.
Diversity brings so women leaders. They even whether it is the McKinsey studies or now I can quote you more of the Harvard Business Reviews and those backgrounds as opposed to, and I'm sure there must be also in the in our JAMA and all similar studies telling you the same thing, that there are traits that leadership traits that are very helpful that women bring, which includes collaborativeness, which includes empathy, which includes inspiration, by the way.
Yeah.
So those that's what diversity brings. But that is not why you should be. It should be because you bring that on the table,
Right.
uh,
Right.
along with a vision
Right. So
and a
you,
plan.
yeah, so you've been in leadership positions, in like Dogana, Apna, and even leading your own organization. How do you navigate criticism and differing opinions? Because that seems to be a test of real leadership.
So I think um, you know I don't like to use the word age, so I would use wisdom. I
Hmm.
would use experience. It is experience and wisdom that makes your skin thicker. Okay,
Hmm.
so so when you start off, uh, you don't start with having an ability to not get affected or distracted, right?
Sure.
But that is what the true learnings of a
Right.
leader are. That the
Right.
sooner you learn not to get distracted by
Yeah.
distractions, the sooner you'll be able to do the real work that you want to do.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
is it is par for the course, and that's exactly what I started off by saying. Do not expect that there is, if you bring something to the table that is of value, you have to make your place.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
And it's unfortunate, but I think, I mean, I wouldn't call it, you can't categorize traits as being related to any country or national or you know group or society or whatever. But it's something that one talks about, that you see this more in, say, the diaspora in Pakistan, or a Pakistani, or even in, say, Pakistan itself, where the kind of support that you would get if you are doing good work, it's more difficult to get. It's,
Right. Right.
like, say, the example used to be, I still remember Dr. Basharat. He was like, an amazing man. He used to be very, very active in ECFMG, right? So
Yes.
he very active with the American Medical Association. And as I said, I happened to be at that good point of that transition inflection where I had all these amazing senior people who were there to, they were all there to guide me. And then there was this whole next generation that became part of our team and,
Yeah.
continued forward. So he was one of those influences. I got very involved with also my own, the APA, which was the American Psychiatric
Mm.
Association. So in my state, so I was in Delaware at the time, became president of the Delaware Psychiatric Society, was in their general body, whatever. So he used to always tell me, that's very good. So I'll tell you the difference. The difference used to be,
Yeah.
there, every position, it was always, it never had anything to do with, oh, I want to do this and I am going to be doing this, and canvassing, anything like that. It would be your colleagues who themselves would want to nominate you because they feel you have something to offer and that
Yeah.
you'll be able to give and make a difference. So that was a contrast I used to constantly have. And
Right.
that's where I say that we as a diaspora, I think, would do much better if we support uh, each other. We support people who we think are going to add value, as opposed to just looking at them as, okay, how do they fit into whatever my interest may be.
Right, right. It's remarkable that you say this, but when we put all this together, and if you were to look back, what accomplishment during your Dogana presidency gives you the most satisfaction?
I think what gives me the most satisfaction is the fact that we were able to, as the whole team, as I mentioned, the whole group of people who were with me, we were able to change the trajectory of the Ghana
Well,
and Apna, by the way,
yeah,
because it started off as with all these amazing people, starting the Ghana, and then it had come to a point where it had kind of started becoming irrelevant.
yeah,
And so to be able to bring it back to being in a position, because the largest number of graduates are from Dow. I mean, Dow is the second oldest medical institution in Pakistan, right? And with the largest number of graduates. So to get it back to its place of significance so that you can contribute to the larger causes. I
Yeah.
think that was the biggest, the interest in Dogana, which now
Yeah.
that you see or have been seeing for the past 10 years, there was no interest. I mean, myself and Rizwan used to be the one calling all these people, but can you please become the counselor for this region? Can you please become
Right.
the counselor for this region? Can you please have a meeting? There was no interest. But then it started, once it became, once we were able to show presence and success, which is what happened at
Right.
that annual meeting. I mean, the whole flavor of
The
Dogana
organization changed. Yeah.
and Apna totally changed, and it has never been the same after that. After that, you see, that's what happened. So when it's an orphan child, nobody wants to own it.
Yeah.
But once it becomes the prized child, then everybody's fighting for it.
Right.
So,
Right. I think
so
that's what's
that's
happening in Upna and Dogana right now. I don't know if you know, but Dogana right now is almost 1,600 members strong. So we have 1,600 members in Dugana and almost 4,000 plus members in Apna. So that's a huge number, but we still
100%.
see that a lot of Pakistani physicians, are still shying away from Dugana. They're still shying away from Apna. We see that some of those old, fights still exist in our organization. Why do you think that? Organizations like Dogana, especially, and I'm going to talk about Dogana specifically, have not been able to realize its full potential because we are one of the largest medical diaspora society outside of Pakistan. We are a democratic society, but still we've not been able to utilize our full potential. I mean, we've come a long way for sure. So what do you think, if you were to reflect as a past president, someone who broke barriers, what would you say about that?
What I would agree with you. Okay, number one, I would agree with you. I would agree that the potential of institutions like Dogana, and we're specifically speaking more about Dogana, and I guess in the larger context, Apna as well. Well, firstly, no, I have not been following over the past, 10, 15
Right.
years. The last time I came when my friend Nasser was the president. I
In 2016.
he, that was also
Right.
he's exactly, so he was also a Dawite, and where he was also became very active at my time
Right.
and all. So so I haven't really been following that. I mean, I have friends all over. When they come to Karachi, everybody meets me, friends from all medical schools. Um, but so I can't tell you in specifics, but what I do feel is, unfortunately, there is too much focus on you see, politics is in whatever, in every institution, everywhere, because
Yeah.
it serves a purpose. It is to bring different points of views, on the table so that the best can be coming out of it. But if politics becomes a purpose in and of itself,
Right.
it affects institutions.
Right.
So that is the difference. And I think, unfortunately, that is so it seems the issues that keep graduates away from being associated and bringing their own full potential to an organization, because I mean we're such talented people. I mean, just
Yeah.
look at all of the Pakistani physicians and look at all the Pakistan. I mean, amazingly talented, right? So why don't
Right.
we use everybody's talent as opposed to making environments such that people don't want to come along? I think the reason for that is this: nobody wants negativity. Nobody
That's
wants
true.
to deal with they can't see value of the
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
if they feel that it is so I think that is, and I think what also happens is, and I realize that in my time, you have to give a lot of time if you want to be contributing in these positions,
Sure.
right? And it's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of
Yeah.
resource, right?
Yeah.
So
And all
that,
volunteerism. It's all volunteer
and this
work
is all
also.
volunteer, it's
Yeah.
all volunteer, right? So if you know, if you are not, if you are constantly being dragged down as opposed to being encouraged uh, to be doing what you are doing, I think that's the reason why people don't. But I think that's what I used to use as my talking point when I would be talking to. I mean, I went to, oh my God, the number of cities that I went to during my time of, Dogana and Apna. I got to see America
Right.
in those times. And I
Right.
got to meet Pakistani graduates everywhere, medical graduates everywhere. So, and that's what I used to tell them. And they would be, and I think the reason why I feel I was able to, to get to all of those positions and places was because people could relate to the fact that this is exactly what I was saying. Look, we can do positive things here. let's
Yeah.
let's let's do positive things. But then,
Right.
of course, you can just do when you are there. What happens after that, unfortunately, again, the system was such
Yeah.
that you know so all you can do is, I
Just
hats
focus
off to
on
people,
positivity. Focus. Yeah. You know,
focus
it's
on
amazing.
positivity.
Yeah.
Hats off to people who volunteer their
Right.
time. Um, it's very unfortunate, and I don't know whether that is still the case. It used to be arcane college politics that used to be driving,
Yeah. Yeah.
agendas,
Right.
which actually had nothing to do
Yeah.
with any real social issues that you need to
Yeah,
deal with.
yeah, yeah. You know, it's very
So
interesting that you said that. And earlier, when you said that, you were at an inflection point, I think Dogana is probably still at an inflection point because, I mean, we're going through a transformational change, a generational change. The old politics is still there. And then it's interesting that you said when politics becomes the purpose and when negativity takes over, that's when people, really, get on the sidelines. But
exactly.
suppose,
But but I also must add, which I did, it's you have, if you believe in what you are doing,
yeah,
then you have to also at times be fighting for it.
sure,
So when you were talking about people don't want to come, but
right,
the ones who do come, and
yeah,
if they believe in what they are doing, don't don't get discouraged
sure,
by what you will have to be dealing with. Don't get
yeah,
discouraged by it. As a
right,
matter of fact, you have to do both, right?
yeah,
You have to be willing to fight for what you believe is the right thing to do, and then you have to be making sacrifices when you think that's the right thing to do. And
right,
I've, been through it all. I've done it all. So I've fought when I've had to fight. I've sacrificed when I've had to sacrifice.
right,
uh, and the fact of the matter is, I always had many, many very good women and men who were always there to support me. I mean, it's not a small
right,
thing.
right,
You know, thousands of people are voting for you. You have to be grateful to them. So even
right,
if they keep quiet, and if you are getting elected with the highest number of votes, that means there are quiet people who are supporting you, believing in you, and there are people working with you. So don't get discouraged, don't get disheartened. Fight for what is right, and don't let people bully you.
Right, right. A lot of younger generation will be listening to this program, and I'm sure that they will take inspiration from your words because, we are just navigating so much right now. But the fact that you just concentrate on positivity and just keep, your focus straight, I think that is going to be the take-home message. So, Dr. Munir, I'm going to ask you one question, one last question before we go on to the next part, which is rapid fire.
Ooh, we haven't done
First,
that yet.
so
Okay.
first woman president of Dogana, first woman Dow president of UPNA, first women president of the Pakistan Business Council, first women president of the Pakistan Advertisers Society. What is next when it comes to the life of Dr. Zilaf Munir in terms of another first?
Uh, Dr. Zilaf Munir is Dr. None of these were what Dr. Zilaf Munir knew she would be doing or
Hmm.
were set out to do. Okay.
Sure.
So you just go with the flow where the flow takes you,
Right.
as long as you keep doing whatever is fulfilling for you.
Right.
Uh, Maybe that the next most fulfilling thing for me maybe is just being with my grandchildren,
Right.
uh, or maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's I love my work,
Right.
and there is absolutely no ceiling to where you can take work, to where you can take organizations and companies like mine to, you know, from national to regional to, way beyond, to and continue to give back. I mean, just giving back to society, I just feel so proud. There isn't an institution that we in Pakistan that we don't support, I mean, so it's wonderful that I'm able to do that, sitting in the
Right.
positions that I am. It's wonderful that I'm able to at least contribute towards talking about
Yeah.
how to improve the lives of people through our
Mm.
economy, through a lot of issues. So what I'm saying is, I it's that will all be determined by whatever life has in store for me. I have never known beforehand what the next plan was going to be.
Inspiring words indeed. Do you miss your time here in the United States?
Oh, absolutely. I,
Hmm.
I would be lying if I said I don't.
Right. Right.
I absolutely miss my time in the United States, and there is, I mean, anybody who's lived there and who comes back, I think they would be lying if they say they don't. It is
Sure.
really it's an absolutely it's a wonderful country to be living in. It's a wonderful experience. It is very enriching, and I absolutely miss my time there.
Well, the thing is, you're still very fondly remembered in Dugana and Apna circles.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
wonderful.
yes,
No,
and we hope to see you in one of our events. So we'll go on to the
love.
next part. This is a rapid fire. This is interesting. A lot of our audience like to hear, the other side of Dr. Zilaf Munir, not the physician side, not the CEO side. So you can only answer, one or the other, okay, in short sentences or short one or two words. So, coffee or tea?
Coffee. I've become American.
Okay. Dow or John Hopkins?
Woo! Uh, More memories from now.
More memories from Dow. CEO or psychiatrist?
They both work together.
Both work together. That's a good one. One word that defines leadership,
Vision,
vision, and one quality that every young doctor should develop.
young doctor.
Yes, one quality that every young doctor should develop.
Im- know what's going to make you create the most impact.
Right. So basically, I mean, to know your worth, where you can create an impact. So
Yes.
one business lesson that every physician should learn, and we know that we're not taught this in our residency in med school. So one business lesson that every physician should learn.
Don't consider business of running a practice as either or. Okay. So as physicians, we grew up thinking that if you think about the business aspect of it, you are somehow or the other not being the best doctor or taking away from it.
I see.
Uh, that is the lesson that I think every doctor should grow up with,
Or
because we did not learn that lesson, we let the whole managed care and everything take over,
right,
right?
right.
So I think the lesson for doctors to learn is that it's not either or.
Yeah.
It is part of your own practice and giving back. But
Excellent.
never forget the oath that you took.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that. A favorite quote you live by?
Oh, a favorite quote that I live by. There is really no one quote that
Mhm.
I can think of, because every time I have to do a talk or a presentation or something, there's some new quote that inspires me.
Right, right.
So
Goes with the
I will
topic,
take a
or what you're
pass.
talking about.
I'll take a
Yes.
pass on that one. But as I told you from my Dogana days, the what I remember was, getting a sleeping giant out of hibernation was what used to drive us
Right.
at that time. So it depends on where you are, at what stage in
Sure.
life, and different quotes,
And what the context is, and what the
and
context is.
what the context is.
Yeah, yeah. So your message to every Dawite around the world, what would you give them?
Value what your institution did not just give you medical education,
Hmm.
but value what the institution taught you as being human beings, being connected, giving back, and building upon institutions. So it's the values and the institution building that we learned in Tao. It is not just the medical education.
Yeah,
Education is so accessible now.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what you learn from being in institutions like this is the institutional values and human values that you carry with yourself.
That's so true. That Dow is not just a medical school, it's basically an institution, it's a whole character building academy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
if you were to look back, and there's one project that probably you would have done as President Tugana at Daw Medical College, what would have that been?
What I lost track of whether it continued or not. There was a very Amin Karim is a great guy, physician from Houston. I think he's the one who used to also do nowadays. In his time, it was started every class on the 25th
Anniversary, yes.
anniversary used to take on a project
Yeah, a
at
legacy
that
project.
a legacy project. And at
Yeah.
that time, the ER was being done, and then this. So that is something I wish I had continued, even if not the rest of it, to follow up to see that continues, because that was a great legacy. And we did start with the endowment in Rizwan and Zia and all of us at our times as well. I don't know how that is doing. That could
Right.
have also done wonders. So these are the two things that I I hope that they are continuing. And I feel remiss that I did not really follow up on those. So that's
Well,
something I would have.
no, thank you. So, Dr. Zilaf Munir, first woman president of Dogana, first DAO woman president of APNA, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, and we truly hope that you will be able to join one of our Dogana meetings and interact with the new Dogana that we are creating. Thank you so much for being here.
It was an absolute pleasure. Really appreciate. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Wish you all the best. Wish Dogana the best. And it's wonderful to see people like yourselves bringing us into this new age of connectivity, and also with the same values, thought processes. Keep it going.
Thank you so
So
much. Till
would
next
love to.
time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.